Carol Tuttle just joined. Okay, here we go. Let's get her on here. Let's see here. Adding. I would love to sign your books, Rachel. Carol! I'm like half cut. Hello!
Good morning. Well, good morning where I'm at.
I know. That's what I heard. You're partying. I'm like, let's do it live and I'll come to you. That's what I was thinking. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for joining and sharing your light with us. I want to tell you a little bit of history of my knowledge of your stuff.
Okay.
Because it started out, my sister kept going, you have got to read this book and figure out what energy types your kids are in you. And I was like, I don't have time for that. Just give me the bullet points and then I will do whatever you tell me to do. And she did, and I still was really confused on a few of my kids. And so I started skimming through some of the chapters to try to figure out each of my kids. And I got to the chapter on type 3s, and I literally burst into tears because I connected so much with some of those kids. And at times when I was a kid, I felt like I was the annoying child. Like I had so much energy. And everybody's always like, just calm down. And my mom is a 2-4, we figured out. So when you posted that thing where the energies are in kind of in order, I'm on this end. I'm a 3-1, and she was on this end as a 2-4. And I'm like, no wonder why I was so overwhelming to her. So that's kind of where it began. And then I tried to figure out all my kids, and my sister sent me bullet points of dressing your truth. And I just fell in love with everything that felt real about. I was a widow at the time, and I almost felt like if I had any color in my wardrobe, I was not speaking how I really felt. And so I just wore black all the time, and I just felt heavy. And anyways, so much of what I've gotten from you has changed the way I view myself and my relationship with my kids. And so anyways, I want you
well, to that's the goal.
I want you to tell everybody who maybe doesn't know who you are, just kind of about energy profiling, and especially for children.
Okay. The Child Whisperer is the book that I teach this, so that is the go-to. And a lot of parents know about it because it is so effective in what you learn. There's 4 types, and in that system, your child's born with a nature that is expressive, that goes deeper than personality. You can actually start to feel it and understand and relate to it even when they're in utero. And definitely even when they're babies, they start to present these tendencies. And so just real quick, I identify each of them with a descriptive word or phrase. Type 1 is our fun-loving child, meaning their movement's a higher quality of movement. It's more up and out, a little more bouncy, more random, bright faces, a little more candid, social in their nature. Then type 2, the energy starts to shift and soften, and it becomes more relaxed and calm. And that's the sensitive child, and that child is often deemed as shy or too slow, and where type 1 is deemed as too busy, they don't sit still. They're always got to be moving or engaging. So there's always a negative to this, and children get disciplined for being who they are, and that's the benefit, is you work with it rather than just try and shut it down. And then type 3, but type 2, their nature is to be very gentle and mindful, kind of aware of the mood of the home, and if everyone feels connected and feels that they're important and comfortable in their space, comfort's a big priority in their world. Then type 3 is the determined child, which you identified with. I'm also a type 3. I didn't have that really expressing in me as a child. My family was very dysfunctional, so I was very repressed in my nature. And that's the other thing. You want to make sure a child's not holding back who they are, because then they have to heal that later in life. And big portion of my healing work with adults is because of that factor. But the determined child has a push forward, a quality of hands-on, wanting to learn through doing, and very determined in their approach to life. So the key thing with them is if you don't know how to work with them and support them, they'll start to go around you and avoid you. They'll just go do their own thing eventually. And type 4s are more serious child, and they have a movement of being more linear, more naturally structured, and have a quality. They're called the more serious child because they'll present a more intellectual quality and not seem as childlike and as playful. They're more reserved and I would say they're more particular about who they choose to interact with. And so that just is something to understand, so you can respect that in them and not try and force them to do things, because their nature is to distance themselves from you and not respect you in that way that you would like.
And even as babies, I noticed I have 2 that I believe are type 4s. Even as babies, they're not as like needing to connect with you. They're kind of just, I don't know, they're more serious.
Yeah, and it depends now, because people will kind of stereotype the 4 types. Can a type 4 be cuddly? Yes, but on their terms. You know, This is the difference. And quite often, what you'll see quite often by the time they're 10, 11, or 12, especially if they're male, you're going to get a lot of side hugs.
Right.
If you get a side hug, that's even a good thing.
That's awesome.
They're more private.
Yes. I love having this information, not because I'm like, well, you're a type 3, you need to respond like this. But I can go, oh, okay, they're responding like this. And I know that their energy is telling me that that's how they're going to respond. And then it helps me parent each one in their own unique way.
Yeah.
That's what I really love.
It's kind of, you don't judge it. You embrace it. You work with it. It's very, when they present, children are very authentic. It's very easy to profile children. Body language is a big assessment tool. And children, more than ever, are committed to being their true selves, which is a good thing. And so if you're being challenged by any of your children's nature, the good news is they're living true to it, and they're really committed to being themselves. And that's a good thing, even though you might not know how to parent and support it, and the strategies you're using could be ineffective. That's why the book is so valuable. You'll learn different strategies that will enroll your child in being much more cooperative.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you give us like tools to use in that moment when it normally would be a frustrated moment. You just direct that energy in the right direction. And that's been very helpful.
Yeah, children, I have 11 grandchildren, and every one of them has been parented with their parents have had this knowledge from their very, first day of life. And they're all very true to their nature, and they're all very confident, balanced children. None of them are difficult. And we don't have false expectations. We understand, certain behaviors are expected, so we don't shame it.
That's so
which is
great.
Nice.
So great. I've listened to a bunch of your podcasts on the different ways to help children, and I just love I don't know, just little moments like at church when the rambunctious child is doing something. You give such great tools on how to help not squelch that and make them feel small or unimportant or annoying.
I mean, you're going to have scenarios where you have to discipline your kids and put your foot down and, say.
For sure. Definitely not afraid to do that. That's okay. So I sent pictures to you.
Do you have photos you can show
I just brought a family picture in here so I can point to.
Okay, so hold them really close so I can see them more. In fact, I might grab, while we're doing this, because I need to make sure I know who I'm talking about here. My laptop, I'm going to open it because I didn't know what photos you would.
Oh, I should have brought the ones that you have. Good call.
Well, let me get on to this and I'll be able to be in sync with you then.
That sounds good. So first one we'll start with is baby.
Now you have your oldest are twins, right?
Yeah.
And how old are they now?
They will be 15 in April.
Okay. Are they identical or?
They are identical.
Okay. Now the interesting phenomena that I've seen with identical is I've never profiled two identical twins to be the same type.
And they're definitely not either.
Okay. Which is kind of interesting. They will, once you know this, you'll see that children, identical twins, have a similar look, but they actually are not going to be, you'll start to see that variable.
Totally.
In who they are. So that you go, okay, you can even see it in their faces and I'll talk about that while I'm actually going to come get your Instagram account up so I can see your kids really close.
Okay.
In here. The thing is, the facial profiling lends itself to be the very best reference to your child's nature, the body language and the facial profiling. And some people might have a little bit of a hard time with that and think, well, how do you tell who someone is by their face? Well, once you learn the system, you'll see the different shapes and movement in a person's face repeatedly. It's kind of uncanny. I have on my own website, on the dressingyourtruth.com website, we've cataloged over 600 celebrities that I've profiled into the 4 types. And we have photos of some of them. And you can see those similarities once you understand what you're looking for. And a child's face even presents it in their infancy, even though you might go, well, children all look the same. So let's hold up the oldest daughter and give me that picture.
Bailey right here.
Yeah. And what type do you think she is?
I think she is a 4.
Okay, my sense though is she's a 3-4.
See, and I think she's a 4-3. But
yeah, I'm a 3-4.
Super close, I think.
I'm a 3-4, and a 3-4 compared to a 3-1 that you are, you wouldn't even think we're the same type.
Exactly.
I'm so, I compare myself to Anna Kay, who's my type 3 secondary 1 expert, and she is running circles around me. I'm so grounded and focused.
Right.
When you look at her face, you can see the dynamic eyes. I also can see that when a girl parts her hair down the middle, if they're not a type 4, it will be somewhat harsh and severe. And she needs more movement around her face. So you're just seeing also being an oldest child. Is she the older twin?
Yes.
Yeah. I think she's taken a role during a difficult time in your life. That secondary 4 became a grounding, sort of a predictable energy, a structure energy. I lived a lot in my secondary 4 as a child.
Okay.
And being through the trauma your family's been through, that would have been a resource to stabilize things. But looking at her, I felt really confident she was a 3-4.
Well, that would make sense. She can use a facial recognition to get in my phone. My phone thinks that she's a 3 as well. Okay. Well, that is so interesting. I'm excited to tell her about that.
Yeah, and again, that's going to look different than who you are. There will be certain things you do that are similar. There's universal traits we all have true to our type. You'll all, she's going to be very determined, but her determined is going to look more focused, where yours is going to look a little more sporadic.
Yeah, she's very planted in her reactions, and I'm a little more. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
You're a higher movement than her, but she's a go-getter. But she'll see things through. Well, you'll kind of spin a lot more.
That is for real. So
you'll be like,
okay.
woohoo! And she's like, Mom?
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
And she has research for hours on things. Like, she's just so steady on everything. And when she wants something, it's like not going to not happen.
Yeah, right. So she's not analytical so much. That's the difference. She's going to start the process rather than being strongly opinionated or having a critic. If she were a type 4, you would see her being much more analytical in her process in life, rather than just moving forward in the process.
So she's got to push, but she wants it done more perfectly, right? Is that kind of what you described?
I don't, perfect has its place, but no, she wants to see it through.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. I'm excited to watch her and see that differently. Awesome. Okay, so the next one is her twin, Boston.
Yeah, my sense of her, she's a 2-3.
A 2-3?
Yeah, so she's got that type 3 in her. What did you think she was?
I think she's a 1-2. She's very, kind of head in the clouds. She had a ton of energy when she was little. But she definitely has 2 in there. I think sometimes that they're so close.
I still see, I just, when I looked at her photo, she looked soft. She looked like a softened type 3. Okay. You got to understand, she's sandwiched between 2 really high movement females.
Right.
That's going to give her kind of, in a type 2 is a very subtle energy, so they're going to pick up on the energies around them and run it and be influenced by it, unless you really, once you notice who they are and really support them. Without this knowledge, she's going to have, the word that comes to me is she was buzzing as a little girl, but not because but because who she was around.
Okay. Interesting.
And she needs a more soothing environment.
Yes. A little more comfortable. Okay. And the next one is Teague. He is, do you see his
He's
face?
tricky. What do you see in him? Because I see 2 things.
Okay, I've always thought he is a 2, especially when he was a baby, as I think back. But I think he has a lot of 1 in him as well.
Yeah, I think he's a type 1.
Type 1?
Yeah, okay. He has a lot of circles. He's very animated in his photos, too.
Yes. And he definitely has to be having fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think he could. I go with type 1. So far you've got a 3, a 3, a 2, and a 1. And again, that type 2, now look where she's placed with these higher movements around her. She's trying to keep up with everybody.
Okay, so you think he's like a 1-2?
Yeah, I think that.
Okay, this is so fun. Okay, and then the next one is Kolya. Right there.
What's your sense of her?
She's me when I was little, so I would say a 3-1.
Yeah, I could see that in her. She has a more dynamic quality to her face, more our features seem, you can tell, like she's going to have just, we call it a lump of clay nose in the type 3 world. We have not been able to come up with a better phrase because it's just basically what it is. But you see that she has that little bit of a more substantial quality to her nose. Again, those eyes set on a V.
Totally.
And I have, for people that are new to this, I do have on my YouTube channel free face profiling videos for children.
That's awesome.
So those are accessible, so you can learn what I'm talking about here.
So I'm 1 for 4 here. Let's go. This is Titus right here.
Yeah.
Titus.
What's your sense of him?
I think he's a 4-1.
Him, I'm going to have to re-look at his. He could go either way. I saw both in him. And so I'll get back to you on him. I need to take a little more time and investigate. I'm going to look at his photos more thoroughly on you, because that 1-4 combo is tricky, because I have a little type 1 grandson, and he's got some physical features that are very type 4, but he's definitely a type 1.
Mm.
So why do you say a 4 for him?
A 4? I think for me, it's like he's very stubborn. Like when he doesn't want to do something, he's a planter. He'll like sit in his room for an hour if he decides he doesn't want to do something. Just things like that, I think, with him.
Well, see, again, that can be, a type 2 can do that for different reasons. There's that, I wouldn't consider that an assessment tool.
Yeah.
For
Also,
the reason that
we're talking about, he's very analytical. Like if something doesn't make sense, when he was like 3 years old, he's like, why would people believe in Santa? Like that doesn't even make sense. That's not possibly real.
Okay.
He's just always done a lot of overthinking analytically.
Is he more, what's his posture like? How does he carry himself?
I don't know.
Type 4s are very you notice how much more poised and rigid their body posture is. Much more straight. They sit with a very straight back, and they're going to have a lot of, depending if they feel they have a right to share an opinion, they'll be critical about things if they're not rolled in a process of perfecting something that's more like a hobby.
Okay. Huh.
My recommendation for you, you're a busy person, and you need to sit down with your kids more.
Okay.
One-on-one. Like, present yourself with them.
Yes.
Not be talking to them while you're busy doing something else. Like, stop and look at them. Put eye-to-eye contact. The number one thing a type 3 mom misses, and I put myself in this category because I did the same thing, is we don't engage enough in being very focused on our children. We stay busy while we're engaging with them.
Mm.
And we have to stop the busyness and just engage.
I like that. Will you give advice for a type 1 mom and a type 2 and a type 4 as well that you've noticed patterns of?
Type 1 moms are not grounded is one of their bigger. They take on too much, and they need to get grounded and do about half as much as they think they should in a day. I think, too, this is where the dressing your truth system becomes a real value to a mother. If you get up and put yourself together, and that doesn't take a lot with my system, you're able to, easily assemble a wardrobe and a style that's very practical and easy to, but when you get up, get dressed, spend even 5 minutes on how to put yourself together, you're a different mother. And if your energy is more present, more grounded, versus for a type 1, you'd be more scattered A type 2, you just feel more down in the dumps if you're not taking care of yourself. Type 3, you just feel kind of grungy because we just, you know, we have a tendency to just feel unkept. And then type 4, you just don't feel you've got a control over your life. And you'll try and control everything else then. And if you can control yourself and your whole state of being, you won't be needing your children to be so controlled. You can deal with the changes that flow out in a day. And so I think that is a huge advantage to just present yourself as a mother, because a lot of things are pulling us out energetically in today's world. And to be present as a person and grounded and available and kind of intuitive in the moment. What does my child need? Because that's the greatest gift, in my opinion. Once you know your child's type, your intuition is your biggest benefit to know, to be so present that you can go receive a prompting and go, this is what my child needs. Instead of just a quick reaction to them and trying to shut them down and go, a child that's acting out is out of balance. And there's something they're asking for. Maybe it is more structure. Maybe it is more authority from you. Maybe it is more follow through. You know, if you've told them if they don't do their part, they're going to have a consequence. And if you don't follow, they need to know you care about them enough that you show up, you're present, you use your intuition, and you get who they are. And you just have to create patterns in your life to allow that. I mean, I was a busy mom. I started my own company when I had children at home, but I was very, very committed to being a good parent. That was my number one priority. I hired a house cleaner so it would free me up. I decided early on my role as a mother did not include domestic duties. That was my choice. You know, I'd rather free myself up to be a better mother than trying to keep a house clean. And that was a priority to me. I do better in a clean home, but I didn't want to put that on my kids. So you can have a lot going on, but you've got to just get some priorities in order so that you're present for your children and available.
Nice. I love that so much. Okay, we're going to do one more of my kids, and then I want you to give a few more pieces of advice. The baby, Kennedy.
What do you think?
I think she's a 1.
Yeah, that's what I got.
She's just a little bright, like everywhere we go. I can't even go to Costco without spending an hour because everybody's just like drawn to her and she's smiling. And
that's great. You needed a type 1 child in your life. You were correct on your husband, though, I will tell you.
Oh, yeah.
He is a type 2.
He's 2 secondary 4. He's like the same as my mom.
There you go. We often marry our parents. Work things out. We hadn't worked out with the parent. We had to work out with the spouse.
That's right.
Well, you and your spouse are completely opposite, so.
That's true. He's the best, that's for sure. Okay, cool.
That's good. He's a grounding force in your life.
Yes, about time, huh? Yes.
You're doing great. It's that every day's a choice. You know, you just have to one of the phrases I use in the morning when I wake up, I said, I wake up, I get up, I show up. Mm. And it's just, again, every day's a choice. And so you just have to choose again and see what you can do different. And you know, every day is an opportunity. And the one thing I was really fortunate I gave myself a lot of grace. I understood the bigger picture of my life and that my mishaps and my dysfunction as a parent were basically from a long generation of a lot of dysfunction in my family. I was the one that wanted to start healing it. And so guilt was never a big factor for me. I didn't excuse myself. I'm super accountable. I held myself accountable. But I didn't guilt myself because I knew I was doing the best I could, and every day was an opportunity to do what I could as best as I could. And some days I would tell myself, it's a Little Caesar pizza day or cereal. You know what? Dinner isn't even, I just knew based on how I was doing, how I had to shift things to say, what's better right now, that I stay collected rather than put too much on myself and lose it with my kids, then I better change the plans, you know. And you're all having cereal for dinner. Because
Sounds like
I knew how to, I started to understand myself to a point where I would unhook myself from these expectations and go, it's just I can't expect more from myself. And it's more important my children feel safe and loved, and that they have the home they want to be in.
For sure.
So
that's awesome. I love it. So one thing that I wanted to thank you for is I felt like I was living in a world of chaos, and as I was trying to get rid of chaos, just having knowledge of everyone is going to be a little bit different, and then dressing my truth and feeling like when I showed up, I was like me again in a time when I had felt like I wasn't ever going to be me again. So thank you.
Yeah,
for that.
I bet. That, you know, again, knowing just the general nature of your story, you've been through a lot. And it's interesting that you had you had the twins at the time. Which kids were?
No, I had all 5 of the oldest.
All 5. Kids. And so the baby is from your and your husband's, correct?
Yeah. So she's the only one that we have together.
Yeah. So start to notice one little tip here, because your system's blown out when you have experience of the level of trauma you dealt with. You really, children are obviously affected by that, but start to notice who you lost a lot in a very fast experience, you know what I'm saying? And so children typically will play roles then to make up the difference, and just start to notice if any of the kids are still being the substitute, you know, like they're being the other adult for you, or they're being the comforter for you, or they're having to go the extra effort. You don't want them to. You want them to give that from a place of being a child, not making up a difference. You know, that you'll go, well, okay, they're like my oldest daughter. She acquired a lot of tendencies that she wanted to lighten the mood. She's a type 1, because I was in a really rough space in my late 20s, early 30s when she was about 5 or 6 years old. And she started to form some habits that were definitely trying to just lighten the mood for me. And they weren't healthy, and they weren't supportive to her. And I started to notice that and think, my daughter's vacuuming right now and she's 6. That's not good. You know, she's just trying to do something to help mom feel better. And the spirit will prompt you on what those are, so you can thank them and say, I don't want you to have to do that anymore for me. I want you to be the child.
Right. So how do you encourage because I have a few kids that do those kind of things. How do you encourage them to not get anxiety when they see you're having a hard day or something?
Communication is key. Own it. Say, you've got to put words to the energy, put words to what the feeling and the state of the home is, and say, I'm owning this. This is mine. I don't want anyone to take it on. I'm dealing with it. You know, you got to claim it, and you've got to take ownership and free them up and put words to it all.
Okay, a lot of people that have watched or are going to be watching this video have severe trauma like mine, because this community, we kind of support each other through these crazy things that we've been through. So what advice do you have for parents going through a trauma, or their kids have lived through a trauma, on helping them I guess, rise above it, no matter what their energy type.
Well, are you familiar with my healing space online? It's called the Carol Tuttle Healing Center. That is my background. I'm an expert healer because having lived through tremendous trauma in my childhood, I had I have successfully healed depression, PTSD, anxiety disorders, and I'm trained for 30 years. I've been teaching natural healing methods, and we'll have to get you a membership there so you can try it out and share it with your following, because there's a lot of what you're doing is things will trigger the trapped trauma energy, and provoke it, and patterns get played out over and over, and then children start to play out patterns because they're part of the energetic dance of the whole thing. And I have this really valuable website that helps you clear the old programming, the trapped trauma energy, and the emotions that maybe haven't been dealt with. Really being able to see how you can start to create what you want now and put that behind you. And it's a story in your life without having an impact on you anymore. The website's called Heal with Carol. It's healwithcarol.com. And that really, my energy profiling work became a byproduct of my long career in doing deep energy healing work with people. And that's how I came to understand these 4 energy types, was my years and years of working with people and understanding people's natures and how we get stuck in these states and start to survive life rather than thrive, and how to now work with our own mind and our own personal energy system, and the grace of God. When those 2 things come together, healing happens.
Beautiful.
So it's real powerful work, and children can do it. And the thing is, your communication again is key. Everybody kind of being accountable for what's, when feelings are potent and no one's claiming them, somebody in the family's going to take them on. They're going to be the carrier for it. My sense is it's your second twin that's doing this for you.
Yes.
And it's causing her anxiety.
Yes, I believe so.
And she's just she's become the intersection of the emotional energy, and it's now a habit, and she can learn to separate herself from it and be a calming presence to your family without having to account for the energy.
Nice. I love
How
that.
are the twins pretty close? Do they get along?
They're best friends, yeah.
Good.
They're actually going to play Anna and Elsa in their school play in the next few weeks. It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing, and everyone's always doing better than they think.
Oh yeah. I feel like my kids are doing, like, for the crap they've lived, I feel like they're all doing really good.
Humans are incredibly resilient creatures.
Totally. Can you tell everybody real quick where else they can find you? I know they can find you now on Instagram.
Well, we basically run 3 websites. We have thechildwhisper.com. That's the parenting work. Dressingyourtruth.com is my taking the 4 types and teaching you how to create a style true to your energy type. And then healwithcarol.com is where the body of healing work that supports you in really tapping into your natural ability to heal and learning creating new life patterns that support success.
Awesome.
And then my books are, I've had the fabulous opportunity to author 7 books in my career, and they're all available on my website or Amazon.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Do you have anything else you want people to know about you or to know about themselves?
Oh, no, I just think, I really appreciate younger mothers. You're in a real interesting time to parent. Parenting is not it used to be, in your mother's time period, it was, you just do what parents tell you. Discipline was the approach. You just children behave. That was the goal. You know,
Yeah.
they do what their parents say. Well, parents of today don't have this old script, this old sort of, I'm the parent, you just mind me. You want your children to mind you, but you're more in a relationship with your children. It's not just about running a household and raising a bunch of kids. It's, I have a real person here that I'm responsible for, that I feel like I want to have a relationship with one-on-one, you know, that it's a more intimate experience for parents. And yet when you have issues that kind of go beyond that really stress you, whether it's a life trauma, whether it's a child that you're just at odds with, parents will resort to some of the old ways, you know, fear, shame, guilt, and then feel terrible for it and not want to go that route. And so I'm really grateful to be able to support the parents of today to say, hey, there's a whole nother model you probably are not familiar with, but it will be life-changing for you if you'll learn this, because your kids are more conscious, they're more aware, they're showing up different, they want to be your friend, they want a parent that loves them, but they're not going to put up with your crap. Basically, you know, they're going to be their own person. So I'm really, really excited for the parents that learn the Child Whisper, because you're going to have some of the most beautiful relationships with your children as they grow older. My children are now in their 30s. They're all raising families of their own, and I have a strong bond and friendship with every one of them from what I've learned and how I've parented them. And it's a beautiful thing to have a family as we continue to mature and grow as an extended family, that everybody understands each other and we like being together.
That's awesome.
So I'm really excited for you that you're going to have those relationships. You're just putting the foundation down for relationships that are going to be just beautiful for decades to come.
Right. And they really are the most important ones that last your whole life, is your family.
Yeah. You know, more and more with our busy lives, my time is valuable. I don't spend a lot of time with friends. I spend it with my kids and my grandkids in my spare time. That's who I want to be with.
Yeah, me too. That is awesome. Okay, I have one more question that just keeps rolling in my head. Because I know a lot of parents, even though they know their children's energy, whatever, they still really, really struggle with that child. Feeling like that child is annoying because they're like complete opposite or whatever. What advice do you have for those?
A lot of it is back to the healing work. They're either your mirror, meaning they're mirroring back to you your own stuff, and they're giving you this magnified, they're living through things you've not healed, or they're showing you things you were at odds with or you were disciplined for as a kid that are not yet resolved in your own kind of subconscious mind and inner makeup, and they're triggering that, or they're playing out a pattern of a parent that you've never resolved. So maybe they're the triggers that you're getting. If you're being triggered to that point, I'd take the focus off the child and put it on yourself. It could come down to their birth story. It's a phenomena that I had. My one son, who's a type 2, was always the more difficult child for me. And interestingly, his birth was my most difficult birth. And that birth energy would get sort of turned on whenever we had this pushing, shoving thing going on. And he felt controlled by me, and I felt like I had to push him. And I'm like, I'm back in labor with this kid. It was really phenomenal. But the minute I learned to shift that energy, he'd calm down, things would the energy would open, and we'd be able to have a conversation instead of two people going at each other. And then my husband had issues with our type 4 son, and that was all replicating his relationship with his type 4 mother.
Wow. That's amazing.
And once he figured that out, he switched it. It was like, this isn't about your son. It's about your mom controlling you.
Right. Yeah, certain people, when they trigger you, that's really cool. I'm excited to go check out that website.
Yeah, Julia will get you set up there. We'll get you set up there.
Well, okay. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank you.
so much. This was really fun. I'm so glad you were willing to come on and
I love it.
Now I have some work to do. I need to
That's right.
process some of these. I'm excited.
Have them, the older kids. It's even a fun thing to do as kind of a read aloud time, you know, with the family and say, all right, we're going to read about your types. So everybody starts to understand each other better, you know.
Yeah. My twins have actually read The Child Whisperer a few times, each of them.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah. Tell your daughter, too. I understand her nature is a type 3 secondary 4. I would have, without my physical features, if I didn't have had that as an assessment tool, I would have probably thought I could have been a type 4 based on how I live my life.
Yeah.
Plus, you really, when you've had trauma as a younger person, the need for controlling your space or feeling like I've got some control over something is really a default that your type 4 energy will employ.
Interesting. Okay.
Like I'm super tidy and neat and structured that way, which is very type 4. But I swear it's because it's the one thing I could do as a kid that felt like I had some say over something, you know.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're gonna look at my youngest son Titus and get back to me. So
yeah, I will. The
okay.
type 4. We'll go with type 4 as you've described him, but I'll follow up. I'm gonna do that right now.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Carol.